Okay, so in front of you all, we provide you all with wonderful white paper this time. So if you can find the one, we've given you a couple, but if you can find the one that says Cobden Water, okay? Just out of the pack that we just gave you. Sorry, Danny. Keep forgetting Danny. Okay, so what we did based on your request is look at the bottom. We broke down the surplus. The surplus from 2014, we deducted the $33,343 that we'll put back at the sewer. Okay? And then that leaves the $9,252 that will be separated between the three plants. Okay? However, we didn't put the Cobden's portion of 49% of that 9252. So what we did is we gave that right to Haley's. So if you look at the Haley's sheet, again, it's the other wonderful white one. The sideways one. There we go. Okay, you'll see on the bottom that Cobden Water's portion of 4533 is allocated there on Haley's. And Haley's allocation of 3% of the water surplus, which is now $92.52, because we paid off the what is owed to the sewer. Now we also transferred over, because as you'll see on the Cobden sheet, regardless of using that surplus, they still have their own surplus of $26,193. So what we did, I think this is what you wanted, was to pull that whole surplus over to Haley's. Was that right, Charlene? Okay. So you'll see that then on the Haley line underneath, Cobden surplus of $26,193. Okay. So with these changes, we were able to give an increase, a better increase, much less increase, I should say, to Haley's 33.5%. With using those surpluses, they will have a surplus at the end of their year of $23 with a rate, and that would include a rate of 33.5% as opposed to the 103% increase.
And how does it affect the Beachburg?
Beachburg, if you look at the Beachburg sheet. Okay, so the Beachburg sheet, they still get 47% of the new surplus amount, which is the $92.52. They originally had a 25% increase, I believe. Yeah. 25. Now it is gone up to 30.5%, and that'll leave a little bit of a surplus in there of $913. So that's an option. And as well as we provided you with the sheet, the current Beachburg water rates, and with the Beachburg water rates of 30.5% increase, as well as the Haley current rate, and with the 33.5% increase. You have those numbers now in front of you. I'll get you that too, Danny. I'm sorry. Yes.
Councillor McLaughlin.
So, am I correct then with what you've done? If we accepted this, it would be like a $700 increase for the Haley's rate. Am I wrong on that one? And I just had like 440 times in a quarterly, eh?
Yeah.
Four times. Right, so that'd be about $1,700.
That's $1,740.95 is what their yearly water bills will be.
Yeah, I should have looked a little further, and so now they're at about $1,200. Is that correct? So that's about $540 increase. So that's kind of in line if you put the sewer rates from Cobden in there as well. That would be there. Okay.
Because the sewer right now in Cobden is looking at about a 35%.
Yeah, if we don't take something out of the budget.
That's right.
Right. Okay. One question, because it's gone up to about 30% in Beachburg, could some money be taken from the Otter River Power Corporation to offset a little bit of that increase for Beachburg to bring it back to where it was at least,
That's
if
up to
not a
council.
little less?
Absolutely.
Because that money is mandated that way, so I'm thinking that as well.
And just to be clear, it's not mandated. It's over the years when we first amalgamated for the rest of council, is that Beachburg had voted at the time to keep any dividends within Beachburg. They were the only municipality at the time to vote, and it had to be unanimous within all municipalities. So it does go to general revenue, and it does go into reserves each year if it's not being used, and there is a reserve amount, and it's prudent. It's a great idea to use it towards Beachburg residents because it is their dividend, but it's not exclusive for Beachburg. Christine?
Yeah, the paper, just to build on Charlene's comments, the paperwork was never completed for the dedication of that money in the amalgamation order.
That's correct. Each municipality had to pass a resolution to allow that, and the other municipalities did not pass a resolution. The only municipality that did was Beachburg, so therefore it was declined and not written into the amalgamation order. Councillor McLaughlin.
I apologize for my selection of words.
Thank you, Councillor McLaughlin. Councillor Olmsted, and then Councillor Ricker.
Two things. One is, would that mean if we were using the Otter River Power Corporation's money that we'd have to use it annually? Because we're talking about a rate here now, right? So would we have to dip into that fund annually to subsidize the water rate? So that's a question. And second question is, so we didn't pull out the sewer reserve. We didn't put the money back in anywhere, did we?
Yes, we pulled it out, and we're going to put it back into the sewer reserve.
That's the 33,343? Okay, thank you.
Can I just answer one of your questions? I'm sorry, now I would forget what it is. Yes, actually, you don't have to set an amount, because each year, like for example, Beachburg right now is a project that's on the budget of $30,000 for the aquifer study. That may not be there next year, correct? So you won't need that. Maybe there won't be an increase next year. It won't need to be such a big increase. So it just depends budget by budget. So.
Councillor Rakier?
Just my comment too, and I do agree with Councillor. I would like to see that money remain. If we can at all with the water, taking it out of the Otter River Power, if we have to balance it there, I think that would be an easier blow to the residents of Beachburg getting a 5% increase if it was taken from something that they're already contributing to. Thank you.
What would the number be if we funded the $30,000 directly from the Ottawa River Power Corp? What would the difference be for a rate increase for Beachburg?
If we funded
the $30,000 project, the aquifer.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Yeah.
And just to ensure that, because eventually with the $30,000 out next year, there would still be an increase without a transfer. So just if we're going to fund a one-time project, then that's a great idea. It was my suggestion just to see what the rate increase may or may not be at that time. Councillor McLaughlin.
If you were going to do that, I think we first better have a look at the reserves in the Otter River Power Corporation to see that we haven't depleted them completely.
If we took the 30,000, we're looking at 77,000 right now, taking out upon your suggestion, and maybe with a 5 or 10% increase. So if we were just to fund just the one project of $30,000, what the impact of that rate would be, and we could still, tack on a little bit. Steve?
The estimated $30,000 for this project, as I said before, it would be an ongoing project, be monitoring over years. So there's a very good chance the full $30,000 wouldn't get spent right up front in this year. It could migrate into next year to get set up, to get wells in, to get monitoring stations in. So keep that in mind. This is an estimated project cost, but it could transpire over, yes.
Thank you. And then I'm looking at the reserves at the end of 2014, the Ottawa River Power Corp had $84,499.56, and we've already dedicated some of those funds towards the Beachburg if they're successful in their accessibility grant of
Approximately $15,000.
and now we're down to about $70,000.
And Chris, just to respond to your question, it would be, if we took that $30,000 out, it would be an increase of 12.5%, would give them a small surplus of $150.
Councillor McLaughlin and then Christine.
I'm just wondering, when you said that about the Ottawa River Power Corporation, are you taking into consideration the payment from the Beachburg Arena for the roof repairs?
That was already put in last year.
Was it taken out of?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's already almost $35,000 taken out of reserves for last year.
Okay, because I thought that was still an outstanding bill.
No, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe the auditor just, we went ahead and quoted it, to pull it out to show that it was out for 2014. Yeah.
Christine?
Bear in mind as well, and I don't have the dollar figures, we'd have to go and look it up, but we receive dividends every year, so the Ottawa River Power Corporation Reserve Fund continues to have an injection of cash.
I think from yesterday, I remember about 21,000 each year. The reserves are at 70 with the 15 out. 20,000 in, it would be 90,000, and that's if we choose to use that revenue for 2015 and transfer it to reserves without using the revenue to the general tax levy. So that's a decision of council as well. So how does everybody feel about the 12% increase to Beachburg and paying for the $30,000 project out of the Ottawa River Power Corp? Councillor McLaughlin.
I would agree with that. I think it's a good enough idea. It's a one-shot deal, and I think I had a little bit of input in it, so I would support that.
And then what about the Haley Town site? What do you think of how they fare out with their percentage increase?
That's the white sheet, correct, that you're talking about? The new one? Okay.
The new rate of $435.24 per quarter.
Yeah, and that's an increase of 33.5%.
Okay, and then we'll leave Cobden rates the same, or you're recommending maybe a 5% increase and throw some money into reserves?
I would recommend an increase of some type. You don't want to start not increasing because there's going to be a time we need to build up those water reserves.
Sarah, Chris? Sorry.
I agree we need to look at some sort of an increase in build-up rates. The only thing I'd like to see is that because it comes on the same bill as that sewer rate's going to be an awful hammer this year. So this year may not be the right year, may or may not be. But I'd like to keep in mind that total bill, that's something that everybody looks at. They don't look at what their individual bills are. I'm a prime example of that. I don't even know what my rates are, but I know what my total bill is every month or every quarter. So let's keep that in mind.
Perhaps we could use some of the $33,000 and put it into the general revenue, or not, the sewer revenue, to offset some of the capital projects that are anticipated for the sewer, and then and reduce the rate as well when it comes back on May the 6th or May the 19th. Sorry, I'm thinking Tuesdays, not Wednesdays.
Councillor McLaughlin?
But, just on what Chris was saying and what you've been saying, if we leave the increase of Cobden the way it is, would it still not show a surplus? Because that's where the 42,000 came from. Am I wrong there? Because there's $42,000 surplus, right?
Yes, but that's no longer there, though.
No. But what I'm saying, Marcia, is that next year, with the rates staying the way they are, there would still be a surplus.
Well, that depends on what the budget will look like next year, if we have projects.
Yeah. No,
So right now, it shows that there's a $26,000, and we've transferred that to reserve. So yes, there would be a surplus right now without a 5% increase.
yeah, and that was my point.
Yep, correct.
I mean, you can never forecast what projects there are next year. I guess we have to look at that as of next year, but as of the end of this year, with no increase, they'll still, without having to do any extra work, there would be a $26,000 increase. Am I wrong? Or surplus?
Well, what we would do you have to balance your budget, so we would transfer that $26,193 into reserve, because you have to have a zero budget. You can't budget for a surplus.
I'm just saying that the surplus, well, okay, leaving the rates the way they are.
Yeah.
Just leave it there. Without an increase, then there could be at the end of the year, which you're correct. You've got to then at that point transfer to. So
yeah,
I'm just saying that's why I'm in favor of leaving the rates the way they are.
Without a 5% increase.
Without a 5% increase, because just like what Councillor Olmsted has said, they're going to be hit with a big rate increase no matter what we do with the sewer.
Christine.
And please bear in mind also that if we are successful in our $6 million quest from the Small Communities Fund, then that would be $3 million in borrowing to rebuild the Cobden sewer plant, which would impact the sewer budget greatly.
Yeah, so whenever you look at your debenture sheets and you look at the $1.9 million that Cobden was paying, and they're paying $70,000 a year, that's almost $2 million. So if you add another $3 million on top of that, you're probably at 2%. You're probably looking at a little over an extra $110,000 to pay per year for 30 more years. So you're looking at $200,000 that you're going to have to cover a year, at least. Okay. That's correct. So that's sewer. So whether we offset the $33,000 offsetting any capital projects, or offset the rates to the $33,000 in the sewer, that can be a discussion at the sewer time, or we can put it directly into reserves back where it came from. Either way. But with doing that, then your sewer is definitely going up 30%. Okay, but with water, are we good with the rate increases as they stand now? So Haley's increase of
33.5.
33.5, Beachburg increase of 12.5, and Cobden increase at 0 or 5%. Do I have any more discussion on the 5 or the 0? Councillor Olmsted.
Sorry, just to clarify, I thought Beachburg was down to now 12.5% if you take the 30,000 out. Sorry, I thought I heard 30.5.
No, that's for Haley's.
Okay, sorry. Good, I need more coffee.
Any more discussion, 0 or 5% for Cobden water? 2.5 or 0? You want to stick at 0? Okay. Councillor Olmsted.
I'd like to get through the discussion. So do we have to vote on this now, or can we get through the discussion on sewer? Okay. Okay, so I'd like to see what the sewer comes out to be, to see what the total increase is. Because you may not be talking about a 30% increase now in sewer. You may be talking about a 12 or 15% increase in the total bill, which is much more doable or saleable than it is with a 30%.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So I think maybe at, sewers to come back when, maybe the sixth?
I think that's what we had.
Okay. Christine?
I'm deeply concerned about the agenda for May 6th. We've got about 5 hours worth of work that we're trying to shoehorn into a 3-hour slot, including a 45-minute closed session budget presentation from our auditor, or financial statements.
Is there anything that can come off that agenda that can be pushed?
I have whittled and tried, so when we break, let me go have a look at it and see when we can come back to budget.
And I think sewer, we've done all the discussions on sewers, and tell me if I'm wrong, and I think we've made all the decisions with regards to that, and with taking some projects out and taking some funding out. So the question that we were waiting for was whether or not we had heard, and we haven't heard yet, from the grant, and to see if that was, but I don't think that grant is going to impact, even if they started today. We wouldn't be taking a debenture out until next year or when it's completed in 2 years anyway, so that wouldn't impact the overall budget. But, so we were waiting to hear from that with regards to maybe some of the capital projects that we were looking at. And then now Martha can take the $33,000 and apply that to the sewer rates, just to update what the rates will be with how it sits now,
Okay.
and then what the rates will be if we take the $33,000 off. And that should be a reasonably short discussion, I would think, because we'd already gone through the sewer. And then the water, unless we set another date in the evening, not during the day, it's costing me money. Yeah, you don't work. Yeah, Christine thinks that we're going to have to set another time for a meeting, just to kind of smooth these over, and then once we get to, we still have the operating budget to do for the general levy, and that's going to take some time to go through. Not, I think Marcia has identified all of the areas where she's going to put a note, so she needs time just to put the presentation together. But when do you suggest, Christine?
What would you think about, May 6th, May 13th? Wednesday evening, May 13th. Could you think about that and let me know?
I think I'm okay.
That's all right.
No, an evening meeting.
Evening meeting, we could begin perhaps at 5:30.
Yes.
We'll bring in some pizza.
For a further budget meeting.
This will be budget part. Yeah. Corporate services budget. So Wednesday, May 13th, 5:30. We'll bring in pizza.
On the 13th.
Okay. All right.
Perfect. So we'll bring the sewer, the water, the impacts, all back at that time, and then we'll start with the operating.
Yep.
Does that give you enough time, Marcia?
Yep.
Okay. How does that sound? Now,
Do you want to break? Are we having lunch or what are we doing?
We are having lunch
at noon.
Do you want to just take a break?
Did you want to take a break until lunchtime, and then when it arrives, and then we'll get into the the capital projects, which includes the roads, after we eat lunch?
That sounds good.
Okay, thank you.